Single dad knocked on a car window at 2 a.m., inside was a recently divorced CEO with nowhere to go. At exactly 2:07 a.m., Daniel noticed a silver luxury car sitting alone outside a closed office building, its engine running, headlights cutting through the empty parking lot. As he walked past with a flashlight in his hand, he saw a woman asleep inside the back seat, her head resting against the window and a small suitcase beside her. Daniel was a single father who barely had enough money to keep his own family warm, yet something about the woman's situation made him stop. He lifted his hand and gently knocked on the glass. What he discovered that night would change both their lives forever. If you believe kindness can give someone a second chance when the world has turned its back on them, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Echoes of Kindness for more stories that remind us that one small act can change everything. Daniel had spent the evening working as a maintenance contractor near the business district. At 38, he was used to long nights and empty streets. Since losing his wife 3 years earlier, every decision had been about his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. He worked 2 jobs, repaired broken equipment during the day, and cleaned offices at night. He was exhausted most of the time, but whenever Lily smiled at him, he felt that every sacrifice was worth it. That night, however, Daniel noticed something strange. The woman inside the expensive car looked nothing like someone who belonged in such a beautiful vehicle. Her expensive clothes were wrinkled, her makeup had faded, and her face was swollen from crying. The suitcase beside her looked as if it had been packed in a hurry. Daniel hesitated before knocking again. When the woman finally opened her eyes, fear flashed across her face. Her name was Victoria Hale, a successful CEO who had built a multimillion-dollar company from nothing. Only weeks earlier, she had been living in a luxurious home, surrounded by employees, friends, and a husband she believed loved her. But after a painful divorce, everything had collapsed faster than she could understand. Her husband had taken control of their shared home during the legal battle, while several people she trusted had quietly abandoned her. That evening, she had driven around for hours until she realized she had nowhere to sleep. Daniel didn't know her wealth or her reputation. He only saw a tired woman sitting alone in the darkness. Instead of asking questions about money, he offered her the safest thing he could think of, a place to rest until morning. His small apartment was far from luxurious, and there was barely enough space for 3 people, but Lily had a warm heart and a spare blanket. Victoria followed him reluctantly. When Lily opened the door and saw her father standing beside a stranger, she immediately understood that something serious had happened. Without asking who Victoria was, the little girl brought out her favorite blanket and placed it over the woman's shoulders. That simple gesture broke something inside Victoria. She had spent years surrounded by people who wanted something from her, yet this child offered her kindness without expecting anything in return. The next morning, Victoria insisted on repaying Daniel. He refused. He told her that sometimes people don't need money, they simply need someone to remind them that they haven't been forgotten. Those words stayed with Victoria. Over the following weeks, their lives slowly became connected. Victoria helped Daniel find a stable position through her professional network, but she made sure it was earned rather than handed to him. Daniel, in return, became one of the few people who treated Victoria like a human being instead of a CEO. He listened when she struggled with loneliness, encouraged her when she doubted herself, and reminded her that losing a marriage did not mean losing her worth. Then came the biggest surprise. Victoria discovered that Daniel had been secretly struggling to pay for Lily's school expenses. Without humiliating him, she created a scholarship program through her company for children of hardworking single parents. Lily became one of its first recipients. Months later, Daniel stood inside Victoria's newly renovated community center, watching hundreds of families receive food, education, and financial support. Victoria had named the center the Second Chance House. Daniel looked at the sign and realized that one knock on a car window had somehow become a doorway to a completely different future. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes that kindness still matters, and subscribe to Echoes of Kindness. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need a little hope today. Before you leave, comment, "Kindness deserves a second chance," if you believe one small act of compassion can change a person's entire life. Because sometimes, the person who needs saving doesn't look helpless. Sometimes, they are sitting inside a luxury car at 2 a.m., silently wondering where they belong. And sometimes, all they need is one person brave enough to knock on the window.